The following program is a UNC Charlotte production.
Welcome inside UNC Charlotte. In this edition, we take a look back at the 49er democracy experience. We'll hear from UNC Charlotte students, faculty and staff members about their experiences during Charlotte's first presidential nominating convention.
Once again from Robinson Hall on the campus of the University of North Carolina, Charlotte.
It's likely that our university was the single most frequently noted Charlotte institution in conjunction with the big event. Through our faculty experts quoted in global media and the stories of our students engaged in the process. From the city, we then head overseas, where UNC Charlotte students, faculty, and alumni participated in the Mount Zion Project, an archaeological dig in Jerusalem led by UNC Charlotte Religious Studies professor James Tabor and Israeli archaeologist Shimon Gibson. We'll learn more about the Solar Decathlon Challenge. UNC Charlotte has been selected as a finalist in this year's competition, sponsored by the U.S. Department of Energy. Plus, we'll visit with the 49ers volleyball team to learn more about its participation in the Dig Pink campaign to raise money for breast cancer research. All this coming up inside UNC Charlotte. As Charlotte played host to the 2012 Democratic National Convention, UNC Charlotte staked its claim through the 49er democracy experience. The university played a lead role in representing the region and the state in the largest event in our city's history.
The 49er democracy experience has been much more than we had ever thought of. The student experiences have been more vibrant, there's been more of them. They came fast and quick. They're so much richer and deeper than we could have imagined. We got a research grant, the speakers, the opportunities to have national broadcasts on our campus. Our faculty experts are showing up in news articles around the country. I think about the 10 students that UNC Charlotte had in the Washington Center. Students that wanted to be engaged in this political process, not partisan, but folks that really do want to make a career in the political world or in the communications world on how you present these issues. That really got me energized to hear how these students decided that they wanted to participate.
The fact that you can make a difference, the fact that you have the power to appeal to your constituents and to hear what they would like for you to represent, those humanistic values that I think are very intrinsic when it comes to politics.
Even if it was the Republican National Convention, I would want to be involved for the same, the same process to learn and see it firsthand.
Yes, this is the Democrats' convention, but, when it comes to the city, this is good for Charlotte with economic inclusion and trying to make us a leader in energy, really try to pave a new path forward for the city.
One of the things I was most hopeful about was that we would find ways of getting students engaged in the whole convention process, finding them volunteer opportunities, getting them internships. And I've really been pleased at the quality of opportunities we've found for students with the host committee, with the Democratic National Convention Committee, with outside organizations like CNN, Fox News, and that's exactly what you want to take advantage of in an opportunity like the convention being here.
This picture here is actually in one of the studios that they had set up in Gold's Gym, they being Bloomberg Press, so where their actual anchors were interviewing different politicians and prestigious people and things like that. And so it was so awesome to get to sit there, since that's my dream, is one day be a political commentator, and sit there and take the picture. And the person that I was job shadowing, Paul, who's the president of Bloomberg Business Week, he actually came up with the idea, hey, why don't you go sit over there and I'll take your picture. So I thought that was really awesome, how down to earth he was and supportive, and that was a perfect photo op. Here's a more enlarged shot of the actual studio that I had my picture taken in. Again, it was just awesome to me to see how they did this total transformation of the entire Gold's Gym. It didn't look like a gym at all, within a matter of days.
My first tweet was when we got our passes. That was thrilling, and just being able to walk in and seeing, I didn't realize that they had transformed the Gold's Gym into that amazing venue. It was just completely done up.
And when we got our passes, it just made it official. So me and Ashley tweeted our picture, and so all of our friends got to comment and see what we were doing.
I've seen the preparations and the media welcome party, and that was all very interesting. And then basically the night before the whole week started, walking around uptown Charlotte and seeing the streets so calm and quiet, and then the very next day having everything be so hectic it was kind of funny to watch that evolve so quickly. Well, this is the control room for the Bloomberg television studios that I got to shadow one of the people who's kind of in charge there, and I got to see what kind of all goes into putting on a live TV show in this hectic environment.
Well, the first thing that put me on the first major task was to develop the content for an all-inclusive app for the DNC. The host committee was responsible for a little tab that was just called Charlotte, and we went through, I think right now there's 125 local venues for anything from restaurants to music to bars. Anything we felt was unique to Charlotte culture, that wasn't a chain, and we put this all in a really neat app that anybody can download for free. So when you're at our screen of the app, you're going to have two dials, one for the time that you're willing to spend and one for the distance you're willing to travel from your current location. It's GPS tracked. So once you plug that in, we've gone through and put in all the addresses of the 125 venues and the approximate time it would take to go to each one. So it would narrow them down. Say you have 2 hours and you're willing to go 5 miles from where you are. So that's going to narrow it down to, a handful of choices. And you have 12 categories that you can go through. Things like farm to fork foodie, there's barbecue and bruiser, there's for kids, there's just several different categories that narrow it down even further. Or you can just hit all and have all the time and distance in the world, and you get all 125 places.
What I hope they get out of it long term is how engagement matters in American society. They're able to talk to some political leaders and political activists and realize that it can have an incredible impact on their community.
I'm incredibly passionate about politics and business and getting important, influential people together. So I knew I would be involved at some capacity, and I knew that the Charlotte community would allow me to have that opportunity, but I didn't know it would be this intensive and this beneficial to my career.
I think the biggest thing I'll take away from this is the networks and the connections that I make. Being in the political, career, or at least when I'm trying to go into the political career, the greatest edge you can have are the people you know, the connections you make, the links you kind of make.
One of the huge things I think I'm going to take down the line with me is I'm going to be able to tell whoever I'm going to be interacting with that I got an opportunity to actually be part of history. In 2012 when the convention was hosted here, and it's the first Black African-American president, so I'm part of that, which is really going to be a huge thing for me, and I think that's going to be one of the experiences that I'm going to look back and be like, wow, when they put that in text, but I'm being like, I was there. I was part of that, so I think that's one of the things that really, I'm going to look back and really be grateful for.
The university's received a steady stream of worldwide news media coverage as our faculty experts share their knowledge and tell the Charlotte story to outlets from nearly every continent. The North Carolina State Treasurer was even seen in national coverage of a convention event in her UNC Charlotte scarf. National broadcasts highlighted our main campus.
Once again from Robinson Hall on the campus of the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, moderator Gwen Eichel.
The convention's impact on our region will be assessed in research funded by Duke Energy. UNC Charlotte doctoral, master's, and undergraduate students in public policy, public administration, and political science will conduct the research, and the project will focus on how Charlotte recruited and implemented the DNC. It will also measure perceptions of the convention among Mecklenburg County residents. In addition to research about the convention, the events in Charlotte provided the stage for unveiling research on an important issue in our society. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Forum at Center City was the backdrop for this report from UNC Charlotte and Howard University. It looks at the disparity and disadvantages facing African American males in high poverty and minority schools across the country.
Our research was charged with changing the conversation that black males don't want to achieve in school. There are deficits to the educational system and societies. When a student goes to school, their address makes a huge difference. So you hear rhetoric in educational systems where we want all kids to be prepared for college, or we want all our kids to be career ready when they get out of school. But our investigation unfolded based on the address and the zip code of the school. They may not be offering all the classes that are needed to get into the most prestigious public schools in the country. So what this does, just based on the school that the kids go to, really puts a barrier of the entry and access to a UNC Chapel Hill, a UNC Charlotte, and that is through no fault of their own.
What I believe is that if you're going to a public school, you should have the opportunity to compete for any public university in that state. There's a lot of different things that you can put in the school to promote success. What we see a lot in political circles right now are people finger pointing. You know, we have people saying that the unions are the problem. On the other side of that, I've worked with BAYO, that's the Black Organization for Educational Options, and charter schools. But what both of those sides need to do, and I say this from someone who has worked with both of them and who refuses to take a side, what both sides need to do is to cooperate with each other. And they need to learn that students come first. And the only way to effectively address the needs is through things that we do through research. And that's where people like me and Dr. Chance comes in. We can give them research on what does it take to help these kids succeed.
I think that the community at large has learned that if they have a project that they need some passion and talent, that they will come to UNC Charlotte. Think about our students that were involved in projects like the app for the DNC, creating the app for the host committee. You know, would they think that a student, an undergraduate student at UNC Charlotte could provide that kind of great energy and talent and great product? And so I think that companies, I think that organizations in Charlotte will rely on the talent we have at the university.
The Mount Zion Project is an archaeological dig in Jerusalem, led by UNC Charlotte Religious Studies professor James Tabor and Israeli archaeologist Shimon Gibson.
It had a profound impact on me when I climbed down into the hole of the excavation dig and ran my fingers along dirt that was from the time of Jesus and picking up bits of pottery from those Roman times. And Dr. Tabor just brought me back another piece of burnt pottery from when the Romans burned down Jerusalem. This is a piece of pottery that was left, and this is our opportunity to understand our past.
We tell the students it's a really serious point for archaeology is we're finding everything that's there. And archaeology is the uncovering of the material remains of our human past. At this site, I mean, look at the human past. We're talking about Jerusalem. The human past is Islamic, Jewish, Christian, Crusader, Byzantine. So our purpose is to find anything and everything that is there. The idea is to tell a story, or really a whole series of stories of real people, of real things, of real lives, and how they were impacted and affected by the past.
It's been really neat. I've wanted to come here for a long time. There's a lot of history involved here, and I am religious, so there's a lot of major religions that are centered around here, and it's neat to come here and experience where it all started.
It's our ability to understand our cultural history, our past, through the recovery of these tangible artifacts, mosaics, coins, bread ovens, mikvah, as we all got to know, purification pools. You begin to understand the history of people during the time of Jesus.
There are a number of different reasons why people should come and dig here. First of all, we're in the heart of Jerusalem. It's a city that's important for Jews, Christians and Muslims. So you have within the archaeology in the ground around us where we're digging reflections of the past of these three great religions. We are now digging up that past, the past of Jesus, the past of Muhammad, and the past of all of those sort of Israelite sort of prophets, Jeremiah and others, in the archaeological remains down here.
I like seeing the old with the new, and then since I'm a religious studies major, I like visiting with some of the scholarships that I've learned, like Durkheim, Sacred and Profane, seeing them, in hand, trying to see how they came up with their terminology.
It was only when you get to Jerusalem and only when you get to the excavation site and Dr. Tabor and Dr. Gibson start to explain to you what the layers of the dirt mean, and they keep talking about in the time of Jesus, and you're going, whoa, in the time of Jesus, in the Roman occupation of Jerusalem. That's when it finally, it just, the impact it has on you is inexplicable.
Charlotte, we're not a narrow place. Charlotte's a window into the world. We want to be part of bigger things, and so you go all the way to this crossroads of civilization. It's one of the hottest spots politically, but also just in terms of history and religion. What place is more important than Jerusalem? And then right there, this university has work there. And that's just something the city of Charlotte ought to be proud of, ought to invest in, be excited about. I mean, when I've taken people there and they've seen that Charlotte's involved there, they just think that's wonderful.
As far as having students and staff and academic oversight, we're the only one. So for us to be digging in Jerusalem and to have this academic foothold is a tremendous thing. And I think for Charlotte too, as a city, I would call it a point of Charlotte pride, really, that the university is part of the city and part of this great urban center of learning.
For the University of North Carolina at Charlotte to be the only American university that has been granted a license to dig on Mount Zion. It's the Queen City of Charlotte, represented in the ancient city of Jerusalem. And our community ought to be very proud of that.
I hope our community will rally around this. I know financial contributions are immensely valuable. I think you look on the website and find ways to support that. It's a way to support students in their education. I mean, what a great experience to go to Israel and be part of the dig. And Charlotte sure wants to support that.
It's a difficult time to raise money for excavations, but we're lucky. We have people who are supporting us and want to see some results.
This project, this excavation, this work being done by Dr. Tabor and Dr. Gibson will be transforming to our community, to our country, and need I say perhaps the world.
In another exciting facet of Charlotte's emergence as a national energy hub, UNC Charlotte has been selected as a finalist in the prestigious Solar Decathlon Challenge, sponsored by the U.S. Department of Energy.
Solar Decathlon is a competition to design and build a solar powerhouse that is self-sufficient and is off the grid, so net zero energy building.
UNC Charlotte's selection to participate in the U.S. Department of Energy Solar Decathlon is perhaps the most prestigious opportunity for us to be part of a kind of international discussion on renewable energy and solar power. Students learned an extraordinary amount of real-world experience in a project like this.
Students from different departments are come together, like business, engineers, and architects, and they work together to design and build this house. And then we take this house to the site, which is this time, 2013, is going to be in California.
I am really excited about this design we've come up with. And architecturally, it's really interesting and fun, but even more than that, we basically have two, what I consider to be major innovations. Concrete is the big pariah. It's a wonderful material. This whole building is made of it that we're standing in. This giant wall behind us is concrete. But and it's been used for thousands of years. It's a great material. The only thing is, in our modern context, it's got a huge carbon footprint. I believe that this is a real revolution that's going to have a major effect on housing and the entire built environment.
The material we're using in the Solar Decathlon house is a unique new type of concrete called geopolymer cement concrete. We manufacture the geopolymer cement out of fly ash, which is a byproduct of a number of industrial processes, most notably coal power production. So majority of the ashes that are produced end up being landfilled. But there are a number of beneficial uses. Geopolymer cement concrete is one of them, which allow us to not landfill them and actually make productive, economically valuable use out of those material. The opportunity that Solar Decathlon gives to a number of emerging technologies is that you're able to demonstrate it and really make clear that this stuff works. This is really the first big-scale demonstration of this material in a precast house. This is very likely going to be the first geopolymer cement concrete house constructed.
A second exciting innovation that we have in this house is revolutionizing passive solar heating and cooling. Basically, passive solar heating is where you let the sun into a building to heat it up, and passive solar cooling is where you, let's say, block the sun to not heat it up. Well, what we're doing is adding technology to that, which increases the efficiency massively. So we've revolutionized one ancient technology, concrete, and we're revolutionizing a second, passive solar heating and cooling, all in the same project.
Our Solar Decathlon house will have a dashboard and an energy management system that would help the inhabitants of the house manage their energy consumption. So the idea is to have a very nice display of what the house is consuming, and just the pure fact of showing what people are consuming helps them realize and helps them be more aware and reduce their consumption automatically. The reason why we're making the dashboard such a main theme in the house is because we're seeing that as being then the interface with other dashboards, from the neighboring houses, and then the whole neighborhood could communicate with the power grid operator and actually help the whole power grid being more efficient.
Each university is awarded a $100,000 contract with the U.S. Department of Energy, but generally speaking, the houses will cost anywhere from $400,000 to $600,000. So each team has to fundraise. It's a significant part of the Solar Decathlon project.
It's also great for our school. So I'm so excited that we got this position in the 2013 Solar Decathlon competition, and the whole opportunity that this brings to our school.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and for nearly a decade now, the 49ers volleyball team has participated in the national Dig Pink campaign to raise funds for breast cancer research.
Dig Pink is just a crazy fun event in October where we get the whole campus involved and the whole team is just ready to raise tons of money, and I know last year we raised over $10,000, and it's just a lot of fun to get everyone involved.
I believe it's the 11th year. Lisa Marston, the former head coach, started it because of her mother had breast cancer. And it actually is a phenomenal thing across the country. Every high school program, or just about every high school program, club programs, you'll go to a club tournament, 1,000 teams will be wearing pink on a Saturday. It's big. And when I got here, they were raising money, and a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there, and I kind of was like, well, if we're gonna do it, let's do it big. And I'm kind of a ideas guy and get after it a little bit, and it's turned into a huge event. And we brainstormed over the years, and we've come up with some good things. We go down to Carolina Panthers and go out to the tailgate and solicit donations.
We usually separate into two groups. It gets into like a little bit of a competition, who can raise the most money. We walk around,
People are playing cornhole, trying to get us to play with them, and
you know, walking around to the tailgate stands and just talking to people, and they tell us about their past experiences or how they're breast cancer survivors, so it's just great to hear their stories.
We do a jail and bail where we lock people up on campus, prominent people. Our football coach got locked up last year, and he might get locked up again this year if we can finagle it.
I think the funniest part, or like the most memorable for me, was whenever my coach was in jail and bail and people had to try to pay to get him out.
You know, we've just tried a lot of different ideas, and it's been a lot of fun to do. You know, we've got online donation, which has really helped raise more money. And we keep trying to do different things. You know, we've tried to get them to have a text to donate. We haven't gotten that yet, but you know, we're always pushing for new and different ideas. It's definitely a pinnacle home match for us. 1,800 people, which is the single match record. We've only had one match ever bigger, and that was with a basketball doubleheader. So this year we're really, besides trying to be #1 again, besides trying to raise more money, we'd like to set the home attendance record, about 2,100 people. So that's kind of, we got a lot of different goals coming out of that match.
The atmosphere is crazy. People, the whole bowl is painted pink. Like, there's a ton of people there. It's really exciting, feeding off the crowd's energy.
The locker room just turns all into pink, and we have pink jerseys, ribbons, shoelaces, everything, and it's just fun to really go out and support the cause and just get all dressed up and have fun.
I mean, we've had over 1,800 people the last 2 years. We were second and then first in the country the last 2 years as far as raising money of all Division I, II, III programs. The girls, you know, from a community service standpoint, go out and do something and affect people's lives, and that's important to me in the community service area.
I know this cause really hits home with a lot of people, and breast cancer awareness, so everyone always has that one person that they can think of and makes them want to donate even more every year, so that's really a good cause for everyone, and I think we can all come out and show big support for it.
Thanks once again for joining us. You can see us on YouTube and on the web at inside.uncc.edu. In the meantime, we'll look forward to seeing you next time inside UNC Charlotte.